Hi, this is Rabbi Izzy. Just wanted to do a quick video catching people up on our last Talmud session. Basically, we went back over again the introduction to the Talmud that I did in a separate video. But since people hadn't watched it, we spent some time going back over that material. And then we dove into our first section of the Talmud here with DOF 2A. Basically, we just got through the Mishnah portion of it. So in this video, I'm just going to do a quick recap of this so that we can catch people up before the next session that we have. So the Talmud opens up with this Mishnah that was what we covered last time. And then we will move from there into the Gemara where it begins to discuss it. The Mishnah asks, from when, that is, from what time, does one recite the Shema in the evening? From the time when the priests enter to partake of their truma. Truma is like gifts and offerings that are brought to the temple, and the priests were allowed to eat portions of these as part of their income, basically, or livelihood. Until when does the time of recitation of the Shema extend? Until the end of the first watch. And we talked about the fact that in ancient Israel, the night was broken into 3 watches, and the ruling here is given until the end of the first watch. We'll talk about that more in a minute. And it says that the term used in the Torah in Deuteronomy 6:7 is indicate the time for the recitation of the Shema is b'shochbacha, which means when you lie down, which refers to the time which individuals go to sleep. Therefore, the time for the recitation of the Shema is the first portion of the night when individuals typically prepare for sleep. This is the statement of Rabbi Eliezer. So Rabbi Eliezer has made this statement that you can eat from when the priests enter to partake of their truma, which is at sundown, until the end of the first watch of the night. And the rationale behind that is it says that you will speak of these words, the Shema, in particular, when you lie down and when you rise up, the Shokmacha. And so because of that, he's saying that it's only to the first watch. However, the rabbis say the time for recitation for the evening Shema is until midnight. Whenever the Mishnah says the rabbis, this means that this was the majority opinion. And so the majority of the opinion is you can go beyond the end of the first watch and go all the way to midnight. But then it brings up a third minority opinion. This one is by Ramban Gamaliel. And he says that you can recite the Shema until dawn, indicating that b'shachbacha, when you lie down, is to be understood as a reference to the entire time people sleep in their beds the whole night. And then he tells a story in the Mishnah. The Mishnah relates that Rabban Gamaliel practiced in accordance with this ruling. There was an incident when his sons returned from a wedding late at night, and they said to him that they were so preoccupied with the celebration that they did not recite the Shema. And he said to them, if dawn has not yet arrived, then you are obligated to recite the Shema. He explained to his sons that the rabbis actually do, in fact, agree with him, that it's not only with regard to the halakha or the recitation of the Shema, but rather whenever the sages still and say until midnight, the mitzvah may be performed until dawn. And he backs this up by citing that the burning of fats and lambs on the altar could be done all night until dawn of the next day. That quite often that this had to be done, and therefore they had to be taken care of throughout the whole night until dawn of the next day. And with regard of all sacrifices such as sin offerings and guilt offerings, they're eaten for 1 day and 1 night. So although the sages state that they may be eaten only until midnight, by Torah law, they actually can be eaten until dawn. So the rabbis are putting a greater restriction on eating of sacrifices and also reciting the Shema than what the Torah actually says. This is Rabbi Gamaliel's argument. And then they say, but if so, why did the sages say that they may only be eaten until midnight? This is in order that to distance a person from transgression. So the idea here was, as the rabbi said, that it can only be done up until midnight was to avoid people pushing their limits and going all the way until dawn, and then maybe violating the commandment by going past dawn. Or maybe they say, oh, so I'll say the Shema before dawn, and then they fall asleep and sleep through dawn, and therefore they've missed their opportunity to recite the evening Shema. And so it's really a fence around the Torah, is what Gamaliel is arguing, and that really you can go all the way until dawn. So that's really the core of the first piece of Mishnah that the Talmud looks at. And we will begin this week by looking at the opening of the Gemara, where it will attempt to unpack this a little bit further. And then one final note that I made in the first class is that notice that this recitation of Shema is connected to the Truma, these offerings that were brought to the temple, and also to the sacrifices. And one commentary that I read said that this denotes the fact that we as Jews are all priests. And so this emphasizes that fact that we are priests to the nations of the world, and we are following the dictates of that, and therefore this is sort of hinting at that we are priests to the world by being connected to the sacrifices, offerings, and to the temple itself. So that's our first piece of Mishnah, and we will begin the next session with the Gemara. Thanks.